This is a tutorial on the conquest of your first province. This video will demonstrate. As I often mention, there is no single correct way to rush, as how you rush depends on your goals. Also, as a Horde faction, you are not tied to provinces as in settled empires. So, for the purposes of this tutorial, I will rush Shrokdak Mount. Shrokdak. I will rush Shrokdak Mount. Shrokdak. Fuck, how do you even say this shit? I will rush fuck it. To establish my Hearthstone. Why not start at Storag Core? Because where I put my Hearthstone dictates the surrounding blood grounds. The blood grounds will be used as a substitute for a traditional province for the purpose of this tutorial. If I center my blood ground here, I will have to war with 3 more factions at 360 degrees, whereas if I center my blood ground at the entire blood ground will be against the faction I start at war with, which is currently only north of me. I can then use that settlement as a focal point from which I can control my enemy's movements and launch attacks to the surrounding blood grounds. This will hopefully allow me to complete a clean provincial rush against a single enemy whose total 6 settlement ownership can be found within that blood ground. On that note, check your diplomatic situation. Taurox is at war with the Broken Chains, and they have no military.
It's free real estate.
Then, check your Bray Shaman's trait. In my case, he gets an offensive battle ability. Embed him into the army and attack the nearby settlement. Attacking from all sides with Vanguard is needlessly complicated for this little battle. You can easily get away with just creating a single battle line and charging in. The brute force of Taurox, the Gorgon, and Minotaurs will break any low-tier green-skinned garrison like a stampede through Spanish streets. I raise in advance to give myself the extra movement range so I can speed my way to my primary target.
Nice.
Since I will be doing a lot of travel, I rush the movement range skill of the campaign skill tree for my lord, and character skills for my mage. The immediate recruitment of hidden encampment stance is the better option for this rush. I will go raiding to highlight why in the next couple turns. For your run, I encourage you to immediately recruit units, because the extra movement range from raiding will not change the time it takes for you to arrive at our current objective, nor will it generate enough gold or growth to justify its selection. If we look at the Broken Chain's strength rank, it appears they've begun recruiting somewhere. Despite this, and the vision we have over all 5 of his settlements, there is no military presence in any of them. It is unclear where this mob is amassing. I move up to maintain 10% movement range in case I want to switch to encampment for recruitment. As we approach, we find one lord. It is possible that given our small force, that singular lord is responsible for the entire red bar. Let's find out by process of elimination. I take this opportunity to recruit the better infantry at my limited disposal. Note that these units do not currently cost upkeep, and build dread gaining infrastructure. Remember, dread is a currency with which you improve your military characters and campaign. In one turn, the war boss amassed 5 units, which makes Taurox salivate. This battle demonstrates the importance of the early recruitment. Orc boys outplay Ungor herds in 1v1 fights. It's clearly still winnable, but it incurs unnecessary risks and losses, especially if you're an inexperienced player. I opt to recruit Warhounds here in order to outflank and shred irritating Goblin Archer units, as well as run down fleeing enemies efficiently. For Taurox's next tier of campaign skills, I choose to max Blessed by Evil. It'll allow me to potentially strip enemies of items and applying them to myself, a double whammy, and make more income from all battles, not just settlement attacks. I plan on maxing this out and adding my final point of this skill group on Dark Apothecary for a little replenishment boost. If we look in Diplomacy, that was indeed the only mob of greenskins in recruitment. They will have to recruit a new lord next turn and then need another turn before applying units to their army. Additionally, we've unlocked research and infrastructure. The tech has no choice, but infrastructure does. Since you will not know where the greenskin spawns his next force, I suggest building the shamanistic challenges to grant you vision over all the blood regions. As we can see here, we've spotted his next army. Aggressively hunt down any mobs the Broken Chains begins consolidating to prevent them from establishing any real resistance to your offensive. While looking around, it's also important to notice that a defensive infrastructure is being established in the Temple of Cain. If this gets upgraded to level 3, this could be an irritating fortress to overcome. We will be close to this after raising Kragroth. I say this to illustrate how you should be thinking ahead during any campaign. For your shaman, you can go Brayscream or Viletide. In the long run, you should get both, but I recommend Viletide first because, unlike Brayscream, it can be used on walls, and I just love the sound of big explosions. It's the American in me. If you recruited at the start as you should have, then you should be fine on casualties. If you've, for whatever reason, followed the inefficient strategy and suffered damage you're still recovering from, as I have demonstrated, then merge the units you can replace via recruitment and provide fresh units for the following turn. Honestly, both choices are amazing. Leveling 2 mages early is incredible. 2 arcane conduits regenerating magic so you can spam spells is a massive power spike. The Gorebull is also a stupendously powerful fighter, with additional Minotaur upgrades. Since Gorebulls and Minotaurs are my favorite beast units, and I already have a mage, I'm going to choose the Gorebull for the lulls. For you, it's your choice. Your agent spawns at your herdstone and cannot reach the army in time. We should not allow the enemy to continue massing, so we will attack first and decide where to send the hero after. Place your Warhounds on the flanks. The Ungors are half the speed of your power units at this moment, so vanguard them halfway up the battle line. They should clash with the enemy line just as the big boys arrive. I choose to raise for the bigger sum of money since I can always merge and recruit to redeem my losses. We can now perform a Ritual of Ruin, however its Marks of Ruination reward would increase if we stacked more Devastation. Since we plan on rushing down our enemy in this so-called province, we might as well capitalize on this. As we observed before, there is a defensive structure at the Temple of Cain. Now, there is also an army being raised at Rakto Gorge. Both looming threats to our conquest are northwest, so that is our trajectory. We will begin with the nearest one at the Temple of Cain. It would take us 3 turns to get there with our army through traditional movement, so we will have to beast path to shave down that approach to 2 turns. We have just enough range to move our army back to meet our hero, embed him to begin taking advantage of his embedding bonus, and so he's ready to beast path with the rest of our forces the following turn. I doubt research will be of any use by the time our rush is over, however, if I were to play this out, I would certainly want the speed bonus first, as it would be applicable in more situations. I switched to raiding in the hopes that I can make use of the movement range buff the following turn, and we move on. Though I had intended to underway in raiding stance, it appears we can attack the temple in the same turn count. I chance it and go as far as I can while recruiting fresh units for the fight. I build up the war herd structure and end my turn. Turn 7 reveals the Dark Moon. I'm torn between the replenishment and the melee steroid. The replenishment would allow me to continue my momentum at full health, and the melee steroid would ensure my combat advantages. I trust myself to manage my replenishment, and the extra damage of Beastly Inclination would compensate for any remaining damage I have on hand. To guarantee battle victory against the Wag that awaits us to the northwest, I take the melee steroid. Sure enough, with raid stance, I have enough movement range to reach the temple and lose the winded debuff of the stance by sieging the settlement. It also appears that Clark Harand has arrived to dogpile on the greenskins. We have to be conscious of this. If we take too much damage, she may seize the opportunity to attack our army, or move ahead of us to seize the settlements we are aiming to raise for our rituals. If you are at this juncture, and uncomfortable with stretching yourself too thin, feel free to declare war on her and destroy her army. It's in forced march, so all you have to do is rout her on the battlefield to completely delete it. I confess, I'm not sure how your beast herd will fare against so many Black Ark Corsairs, and if you won, it would surely slow your progress towards your provincial rush. If you choose to engage her in this situation, please report your findings in the comments below. And, like and subscribe! I raise and advance because of the threat of the Dark Elves, either turning on me or racing me. I want the healing and the movement range to resist this potential. This also gives me enough movement range to attempt 1 or 2 ambushes on her forced march. Now, if you're playing safe, I would urge you not to try this, but since I'm trying to earn your subscription and teach players how to make the most out of the least amount of time, really wish I'd taken the blind eye of seeing for a couple Cygor summons and plus 15 starting magic right now, but here we are. Don't be cheap. Buy that item as soon as possible in your run. It looks godlike. I'm gonna skip my campaign skill for this and grab Fueled by Blood for the combat upgrades. No luck on the ambush. Well, here we go. My goal here is simply to get a tight surround, force the AI to cluster, and nuke them into oblivion. As I'm writing the script alongside my gameplay, I was tempted to erase the real-time commentary and make it seem like this was all planned, but I believe it is more important to show you the mistakes I make during my learning process. It shows you a few things. Number 1, it shows you what not to do. Number 2, it shows you how to pull a win out of a situation you may lack tools and confidence in. In this case, this turned out to add to the maximum efficiency of the run, and with this accomplished, I strongly urge you to take this fight because it adds XP, gold, and rampage unlocks to your rush. What should you have done differently? Especially if you're unskilled or inexperienced, I insist you buy the Blind Eye of Seeing as early as possible. I had considered it, but wanted to see if I could get away with spending as little of any resource as possible. I could continue without it in the spirit of early efficiency, however it looks like such an incredible asset for combat. It will ensure victory for your run, and clearly money is not hard to come by when your army costs nothing. To snowball our rush, we can now also use the movement replenishment mechanic for Taurox. The greenskins have 13 units at their disposal at the moment. After merging our damaged units, we still have the numbers advantage. Let's not stop now. Rush. Keep exhausting your momentum until you reach the final stronghold of these cockroaches. Your infantry is very weak, and warhounds are very ineffective against walls. However, your heroes in large units should be more than enough. Hide your weakest units to the side. Hide your stronger infantry nearby in case of emergencies. Try to rely on your power units, and kill everything in sight. Attack the gate, and use your mage to disrupt the missile units in melee clusters. Be careful if he lags behind your initial wave. Do not let him get picked off by missile fire. If I were to play out the game, I'd switch my research to the 10% campaign movement range. Tie up your loose ends, and do the ritual. And in 7 turns, you've secured your blood grounds as Taurox. If you found this helpful or entertaining, pray to the Omniscience, and give that YouTube machine spirit a like, sub, and comment below, so that the God Emperor of Man will forge my channel into a gaming Imperator Titan. Check out my live stream and other links in the video description. Peace.